My name is Eric Marcus, and I am a stakeholder at the Russell Innovation Center for Entrepreneurs. I am a business owner of Royal Trophies located in East Point. I've been a stakeholder for 3 years, and it was through that relationship that allowed me to meet so many countless relationships and resources that have helped me along the way. We specialize in providing awards, branded apparel, and promotional products. We love helping people celebrate others, yet, and also promoting their brand. So one of the things that really inspired me, two things: A, it had built-in demand, and B, it helps celebrate people in the community. So Royal Trophies have been in this community for a long time, and my family, we're the third set of owners for this company. Purchased it in 2018 with a family of 4 boys, 1 girl. I didn't like the feeling or that tension of not being able to provide for my family. And so I've always had this desire to have my own business. I knew that I needed to find something that was established. And I remember being up here one particular evening thinking, oh, this seems like a good business to be into. And I remember going home and I told my wife, I said, I want to ask this guy about his company. At the end of 2018, it was like in the December, I got an email from him. Said, hey, Mr. Eric, are you still interested in the company? And I was like, yes. Called it straight out. I felt like trophies, people are going to always celebrate people. And you didn't have to convince somebody whether they need a trophy or not. It just really was a matter of time. So one of the things that I can recall is when my father passed away. Mind you, my dad was a police officer. And he took a lot, and I felt like he wasn't really recognized. And so when we were going to the service, there was about maybe 20 police motorcycles and cars just lined up the street. Almost reminded me of the scene of Coming to America when they were going to see Hakeem. Just found myself crying. Seeing him get that respect just made a huge difference. It touched me. And so now, being in something that just celebrates people, it just really warms my heart. Rice came in my life at a point where I knew that I needed a community. When I discovered Rice, it was like, oh man, these are people who are on the same journey as I am. And so right now I'm in they call the execute stage. So we will meet once a month. And so we all listed the things that we needed as far as what we felt was important. And he made it a point to give us good information. And then the other part is, because of where we all are in our business, we can help one another, which is one of the dreams and visions of what Rice wanted to do in the first place. Be a place where people can, support one another and build one another. I love going to Rice. I made a comment that whenever I go there, I always meet somebody who's just doing something super cool. One of the things that was a big challenge for me was I was struggling with certain finances. She introduced me to the ACE loans. Ended up getting a loan that helped me get the new laser that I have, because that was a challenge with ACE. Oh man, they just changed the game for me. But I would have never knew about that resource if it wasn't for Rice. As a Black man, I did not know the need for mental health. And so being at the Russell Center and learning about some of the resources, particularly giving stakeholders access to counseling, not group counseling, one-on-one counseling, that's a game changer. When you're working as an entrepreneur, life is hard. And because when I was working for someone else, I could check out. I didn't have to think about it all the time. I didn't have to bring it home with me. But as a business owner, a lot of that stuff just don't leave you. You feel it all the time, and sometimes that stuff builds up. And because honestly, this is the hardest thing I ever done in my life. Because if someone just say, hey man, it's gonna be really hard. It's gonna be really, really, really hard. I probably would have still did it, but I would have been more intentional on how I served myself and made sure that my whole self was getting served. Instead of waiting, 4 or 5 years later to start trying to take advantage of certain resources. I am so glad that Rice is helping to support my mental health. a typical day for me really involves checking emails, making sure orders are placed, or making sure orders are moving forward. We have to inspect that first to make sure we can give it out to the customer. It's interesting, how we depend on UPS and FedEx a lot, because although they're not in the trophy business, they are in the trophy business, because if we don't get what we need in a timely manner, that puts us in a bind. But in the beginning, we were really, we were doing okay, but we wasn't doing what we were used to having. And so a lot of times, as soon as we get paid, we're trying to make sure, okay, we got things straight in the house. Hey, thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay. And so eventually that changed. But in the beginning, it was definitely an adjustment, because we didn't really understand how cash flow worked. And it's still a delicate balancing act. I mean, I talk with business owners who've been around for years, and that still is a challenge, because people will give you the service, they may not give you the money when you need it. And so, navigating, the service you provide and then getting that paycheck, that's a whole art by itself. The challenge that we was having in the beginning was after the school year season is over, because that's like our business time of the year, like March, April, May. And that can give you a false sense of reality, because you think it's gonna always be like this. They say, no, when June hit, we were like, it's like, whoa, I didn't plan for this. So that's when the promotional and the apparel family reunions. People need t-shirts. People need awards for the oldest family member or the youngest family member. Not like the youngest one remember it, but they need those awards too. And so we started doing that. And that really helped us out. And so then, in the beginning, as I mentioned, we took all of those contacts and then we asked people to give us reviews. And so now when people search for something that we provide, we're like one of the top 2 resources in this area that come up. And that has made a huge difference. And so, yeah, we definitely did things in the community. So we would sponsor certain things from time to time. We would show up, we would go read to the children, volunteer. I mean, I was always in the community anyway. And so it just naturally worked with who I was as a person. So, yeah, I mean, and so that really helped those ebbs and flows. They're really trying to learn from those mistakes, and having good people in your corner who can call you out and say, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. And so there's a lot that goes into being an entrepreneur that people just don't see. You don't see the pressure, you don't see the uncertainty on how you're going to do payroll. Like, I remember changing phone systems. It seemed easy, but what I didn't anticipate was that the phone was just going to be out for almost 2 days. And so thinking about the fact that your phones are down for 2 days, people can't call you, trying to figure out, okay, how can I get a call? When you're working for yourself, every call matters. Every email matters. But when you're working for yourself, you know that you have to pay for your vacation. Even while you're on vacation, you got to figure out, okay, how are we going to keep this going? Momentum is everything. There was one incident where we did this plaque for somebody that it was a memorial plaque. We had the person's face on it. And the lady's granddaughter was coming here to get something. And she was like, that's my grandmother. And I was like, she was like, how did you get that? I said, well, somebody did this for her. She was like, that's my grandmother. And I was like, do you want it? She broke down and gave it to her. And it was just really cool to see. And it's things like that just a constant reminder of why, even though, of course, it's helpful for my family, but we're serving so many people. And to see people touched by something that it was just sitting there, and out of the odds of that's my grandmother. And it's those moments where it's like to be a part of something that is really touching somebody in a special way. Yeah, I love that. I do.